Evening, folks, and welcome back to the View for the match day review of Bristol City versus Leeds United. Not a game to write home about by any straight shades of the imagination. A pretty boring and dull game. It's been said a couple of times this year, boring, which I haven't probably said for a very long time, even at the worst of times with Leeds. But it's an interesting topic to get into. Joined by Paul from the Leeds Therapy and Gerry McNamee to discuss the game and to go through it in a bit of detail. But we'll check in with the guys first and just say, guys, how are you, Paul? How's things? Welcome back. How are you?
Thank you very much. No, I'm good, thank you. I said to you just before off air, I'm shattered this time of year. This changing of that 1 hour that you lose or gain. Sorry, I don't know what it does to me, but it just turns me into a zombie for about 2 months. So yeah, I'm tired, but I'm good. I'm happy. I'm still positive, still enjoying life, enjoying Leeds, trying to get to as many games as possible at the moment as I can. I'm going to try and get to Plymouth this weekend as well if I can, because it'd be great to get there again. So, but yeah, happy. I'm a happy boy at the moment.
Yeah, we had shares in Plymouth at one stage last season. We were down there so often. So Paul, enjoyed the trip down. It's not a short one. Gerry, how are you? How have you been? How's things?
Not too bad. Well, my cooker clock is back right again, so I'm happy. Yeah,
for 12 months. Yeah,
every 6 months. Yeah, it's right. So I'm quite happy. Roll on the 21st of December because then it gets brighter, and I'm looking 2 minutes every night. No one likes these dark nights, but it was nice and bright down in Bristol. It was a lovely day, lovely sunny day. And Bristol's one of the nicer grounds actually. They got good food outlets and bars and everything around. It's a nice city, nice place to go. Boring as hell it was. It was not much to say really. So good night. Yeah.
See you next week.
Yeah. To say.
That's the problem with modern football, Gerry. The stadium is too comfortable. Everyone was too comfortable. There was no commentary sound. The commentator was on a blimp.
Oh, yeah. I heard that was bad.
On a blimp. So everyone was just too comfy. We needed to be raw and rugged and potentially needing tetanus shots before Leeds produced their best football. So yeah, no more of these cozy grounds. But Paul, not a great day. It was the start of my stag. I was out all day Saturday for my stag. My brother, my best mate. We started off in the Camden. So big shout out to the lads there. So I'd watch the game there, and very hard to watch that game, Paul. There was just nothing, was there?
Yeah, 100%. 100% transparency. I stopped watching with about 10 minutes to go. It was that bad. And I don't mean bad as in we were all playing bad, and it was just there was something that was severely just lacking within the actual performance itself. And I was interested to note that we'd signed Rondon because that seemed to be a player that we'd signed. I don't know how that happened, but apparently we did. But no, everybody seemed to be off the pace. Everybody just seemed to be just not quite with it. And somebody's mentioned in the comments already, and I'll agree with it, that 3 games in 8 days, it does take its toll a little bit. There just seemed to be a lack of snap, a little bit of lack of just indecision. You could see the midfielders when they were trying to. There was a lot of arm raising going on. There was a lot of nobody's moving into position. You can see why Bristol haven't lost at home so far this season. They set up. They're very organised. It moves into. Or they move it to almost like a 7 across the midfield, pretty much, which makes it very difficult to break down. I mean, forget low block, forget mid block. We weren't breaking any form of block last weekend, but just they're very, very well organised. They didn't really do very much going forwards. They didn't really offer anything at all. but just overall, it was just a really, really lackluster performance. The defence came out with credit because the defence kept a clean sheet, so happy with that. But just overall, it just wasn't great. But then on the other side of it, it's a point away from home. We're still unbeaten. We're still third. We haven't lost huge pace. Sunderland are 5 points ahead of us, and that can be turned around within a week in some cases. Sometimes let's not get massively too over dramatic with it. It was a disappointing performance. Yes, we should have put some chances away, definitely. The the non-toe shot that was cleared off of the line. Listen, Joseph should be scoring that, all ends up. 100% should be scoring that, all ends up. But it's just one of those things. we take it and we move on. Hopefully, I'm not going to get bollocked this time for saying.
But you know what? I don't think you should, Paul, for that opinion, because it was very much, and Gerry, you can tell me if you agree with this as well. There are going to be games this year that we're going to drop points in. We're going to lose games this season. We're not going to go the whole season unbeaten like we didn't last year. We could lose 6-7 games in this league and still get promoted. The draws can take it away from you, but they can also keep you tipping along, and all of a sudden a couple of wins and those draws become, it's like bowling for anyone who goes bowling. A spare's not worth anything unless you make the next shot afterwards. You know, if you do, it's great. If it's not, if you don't, wasn't worth it. Please pick up 3 points in the next couple of games. That point against Bristol City might end up looking pretty decent. If they don't, then it's a conversation around, well, you should have taken the points when they were there and you didn't. So you're going to have these performances, Gerry. We've had it already. Lethargic, tired, not sharp, static off the ball. Twice this year, I've said watching the game, I'm bored.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people say the same thing as well. And I don't remember, even when it was really bad at Leeds in League One, it was never dull.
No. It was... Yeah, Bristol started well, and I thought it's not going to be one of those days. But it was almost a replica of last year's game at Bristol. And Willie scored in the 50-odd minutes when he last season, and really unlucky with that chance. It was a lovely move, and he didn't do anything wrong. It was a good attack and great defending, and it was just one of those things. But yeah, it didn't flow. It was slow. It wasn't sharp. I mean, you're right, Bristol City. I don't think they did anything second half, and they were there to frustrate. And yet again, we struggled to break down the team. But you know, we could be talking about a different thing than nicking 3 points. We had a few chances. Willie had a great shot saved by the keeper. A few Irish lads on the Bristol team, including the keeper. Yeah,
good game.
And Willie had that shot. I think Brendan had a chance. Joseph should probably have put one away. And, you know, it seemed to be a tilt on the pitch because it all ended up on the left-hand side. It seemed to be concentrated over there. I mean, Dan James, he ran through at one stage. He thought he's motoring. He just seemed to lose his way. And that summed up the whole day, really. I suppose if you're looking at positives, I think Sam Byron came in and it was not the match for us. I thought he was excellent. His defending, linking up the attack as well. And I thought he was really good. We've lost Bogle now for a game. That's going to happen. At least we're staggering the yellow cards. We miss Firpo this week, Bogle next week, and probably Rondon he'll disappear the phone. I hear the coverage was dreadful. The camera angles, everything, the commentary, the whole lot. I mean, Sky, you're only getting all this football and everything, and can't even do a job. I'm glad I wasn't watching that. But overall, it was. We just wasn't. We were never going to win in the end. Frustrating, but the point on the road, you'll take it. It could be in the bigger picture. We win the next couple of games, it's forgotten about, and you're on an unbeaten run, and that's the way it goes. I think as we know, what's Leeds media and everything. One bad result, and doom and gloom comes out. One great result, and we're going to win the Champions League. So we need to be somewhere in between. I don't think there's anything particularly broken. I think our defence is decent. I thought Melia came out for a few awkward crosses, took him. I suppose in midfield, the two guys again started slowly, but Rothwell and Tanaka, they played well again. Dan James ran out of steam. I suppose we're worried about Solomon. He came on, didn't really contribute, and all of a sudden we saw the first couple of games we were raving about him, and now everybody's writing him off and sending him back. I don't think that's right. I don't think he's fully fit.
Can I ask you about that, Gerry? Because I where it came from and who said it, I thought this is unusual because they've been criticized in the past for being a bit negative at times, and then they were super positive after that for a period of time when they probably shouldn't have been. But Johnny Buchan, of all people, to suggest that Leeds, and I know what he's saying. I know he's just basically.
I know Johnny. Yeah, he's usually quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know he's just putting a question out there to be asked, but to suggest he contradicts himself by saying, send them back and use that space. Leeds have 3 spots still open that they can use for loans. You don't need to free up a space for it. The money can be used better. Who do you bring in at this stage of the season that's gonna have an impact? Yeah. And if you stick around with Solomon for a couple of weeks, Gerry, and you get him up to match fitness, he could have a massive impact in the second half of the season. So, I thought it was an unusual thing to even suggest. But what was your take on it?
Yeah, I don't. He's not. Last week he played. when he came on very early, I don't think he was expecting. I mean, he was subbed in, but he played a full 90 minutes last week, and he's probably. We know he's got fitness issues, but we know he's a class player, and he showed that first couple of games. So I think it's early to say to write him off. I think somebody said there he's Spence 2.0, but I think that may be a bit harsh. Nobody's doubting his attitude. He looks a bit frustrated, but yeah, come January, if it's the same, then I suppose there's a decision being made. But he could get fit and be good. I think we missed Ramzani. I think he was missed on Saturday. I think he's brought a bit extra, and we realise what he's brought to the game. So give him a few runs off the bench. He'll be fine. He's a class player, as we know, and we just got to wait till it comes out. And if come January it doesn't, then yeah, decision to be made. But I'm not writing the guy off just yet. And you know, we've just got to keep level heads. I said next two winnable games at home, and we got a little trip down to the fishing village in East London. You know, but it's all forgotten about again. Sunderland are being a bit of a pain, but I don't think. It's probably shouldn't say, but I don't think they're that brilliant, and they've had a bit of luck along the way, especially against us. So you know, you look at Burnley. Burnley drew at home to bottom of the table QPR, so it's not just us. So it's the championship, and while disappointed, I think the crowd, the away fans, it was a bit like that. That's just, oh well, never mind. We had a nice day out, and it's nobody's panicking, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, I could have. If I'd known, I could have had a nice day at home. It's a nice drive down to Bristol's all right. Lovely big bridge.
It's a lovely place. I've been to Bristol. It's lovely. Girl over in Bristol actually as well. It's a lovely part of the world. Absolutely lovely part of the world.
And I got a nice burger there as well.
Good. Yeah. At least you got fed.
I did. It was lovely.
Paul, what's your take on the Solomon situation? And I know people are saying, like it's been said there, like he's taking longer to get up to match fitness. We had 2 games in a week. That's the 2 games he's played in a week. He's not going to get match fit in a week. He's going to need more time and more games. He might be fine come out the next international break. But where do you sit with the comment?
He's not match fit. Isn't the right way of saying it. He's not match sharp. So in terms of his decision making and everything, he's been out for quite a while with his back injury. And coming back, it's a bit different. It's difficult as well because when you kind of compare him to Ramazani, they're 2 different styles of players. Ramazani is a very much an interchange move. Him and Nonto switch sides, and Aronson and everybody switches sides and everything. But with Solomon, what you're going to get is you're going to get a guy that sits on the wing, chalk on his boots, and you have to feed the ball into him. We saw that in his first game that he played and the way that he played. He just needs a little bit of time to just sort of get his head round it all again. I do think that obviously there was comments about him looking a bit disinterested, maybe looking a little bit like he wanted to be anywhere else but in the team. But what I would say is that that's probably more him being frustrated with not being able to produce what he wants to produce, basically, and play how he wants to play. It's the same thing like when we say, you know, the conversation that sits around Rutter and Rutter not being in our squad anymore and the difference that he made, and comparing him and Aronson. You can't compare him and Aronson because they're 2 totally different players. Aronson is the type of player that you know, fights around, gets in, does his bits and pieces, move out, whereas Rutter is very much more the flair style of player. So they're 2 different style number 10s, for want of a better phrase. And I think that's what a lot of people do. And yes, we miss Ramazani is going to be the player on the left-hand side for me, 100%. But we just need to give Solomon some time. Fitness-wise, I'm not too worried about his fitness. It's just his sharpness in his brain that just need to flick back into gear again. And there's little flashes of it coming through. So we just need to be just calm and thinking. It's like I've said this before, I'm not too bothered about how performances come along up to sort of like the Christmas period. For me, it's more a case of let's get the points on the board. Let's keep moving with the points, staying in touch, because we're a second half of the season team. That's when we tend to push forward. I just want us to have a good Christmas for once, which we haven't had for a couple of years. So it'd be nice for us to have a really decent Christmas and then push that form on and then really, really push for promotion towards the end of the season.
We'll have a look at the next 6 games, especially for Sunderland and us, because there could be some changes in there. But just to go through the statistics of the game, basically, from a possession perspective, Leeds at 68% possession in the game, which should be enough to win a match. It basically says you're controlling the game at 70%. The question I'd have is, do we actually really threaten with that? Especially the last 10 minutes for me. Gerry, you can tell me again how you feel about this. The last 10 minutes for me in the game, if you go through this, total game, 68% possession. We had an XG of 1.3 versus 0.1 for Bristol City. We created 4 big chances, none for Bristol City. We had 17 shots on goal, 5 on target. Bristol City had 4 shots, none on target. Everything on paper suggests that Leeds should have done enough to win that game. But did we ever really threaten, Gerry? And in that last 10-minute block, I felt that Leeds were happy with the draw and they were keeping ball around the back. There was no emphasis to really push on and try and push to get a winner. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. You were there.
Yeah, there was no space, and that's what I was saying. Everything seemed to be stuck in that on the left-hand corner, and we just couldn't break out. And I suppose with Solomon as well, there was no space for him to run at players. It was all so cluttered, it was quick passes, and it, inevitably it broke down. We could have won it. 4 chances, as we mentioned. One of those goes in like it did last year, and then it's all fine. But it was just a frustrating game, and give credit to Bristol City. They did their job, and they frustrated us. And that's just the way it was. I'm sure we were pushing on, but we just lacked we just lacked on the day any sort of being incisive, and it just wasn't going to happen. Just going to be one of those days. And then you worry when I think Bristol sort of had a little flurry at the end. You think they could nick this, and that's the Leeds way as well. So we could be talking about worse. You move on. It'll all draw a point on the road. We've got 5 draws now, which probably a couple of those could have been converted. Obviously, the Sunderland and Portsmouth games, but we're picking up those points. And there's some games you just keep what you've got, and I think we did that. We were still pushing on, but there was nobody was getting through, and it was a very frustrating day. And just glad it was over. Yeah, that's all you can say.
Yeah, we'll push on and talk about what's coming up as well. But real quick, just to clarify some stuff that was put out today in the news, the Leeds Legends side. I have to clarify something that I've been saying. I keep saying Leeds Legends are travelling to Dublin. They're not. They're travelling just outside of Dublin to Bray, County Wicklow. On May 10th, the Leeds United Legends will play the Borough Legends just outside Dublin, Bray, County Wicklow, the Carlisle grounds. On the 10th of May, there will be some details later on. Today's news, the details for tickets are there. But the captains for the Leeds side have been announced today, and Paul Reaney and Mel Sterling will be in the dugouts for the Leeds Legends. The players will be announced over time. We've got a bit of time, and as I said this morning, if you've got Christmas coming up, and it's a pretty decent Christmas present to get somebody to go and see that game, because again, from what I've heard so far, what's coming will be really, really interesting. I'm sure everyone had checked that out, but just want to make sure.
Paul Reaney could play. He was on the pitch last week. I think we might have mentioned. Yeah, he was on the pitch last Tuesday night.
Nick, isn't it?
It was 80th, and he looked as fit as a fiddle. Yeah. He was running around. Yeah, what a man. Not so sure about Mel though.
Well, I've watched the documentary, and Mel makes a very clear point about Howard Wilkinson having a weight limit on Mel. And he had a playing weight, and if every pound he was above that weight was £100 fine. So Mel had to keep himself under the weight. But
he's a character.
He was going to enjoy himself after his career. What a player! What a player Mel was.
Free kick Man United Boxing Day. Yeah. Whatever. St. Stephen's Day. Sorry.
Didn't we around that time? Like when Mel finished with Dorigo, and then Dorigo finished with Ian Hart. There was always somebody fullbacks that could smack a ball. Yeah, I met him last year as well. My dad had a good chat with him in Leeds a couple of times as well. He's a lovely fella. Just finishing off on the game, lads. I just wanted to put this up to give everyone a look at what it actually looks like on paper when you look at Leeds' chances. On the left-hand side here is Bristol City's chances. No dot means they weren't on target. None of the shots made it. That was Bristol City for the whole game. This was Leeds for the entire game. The dots were the 4-5 chances we hit on target. But a lot of shots, more from distance than we've had. If you can make out the stats in the middle, 1.38 XG, 4 big chances, 17 shots. But like it's all in Leeds' favour, just not enough, Paul, at the end of the day, really, to do anything. But you look at this over here, and you think we've got to do better with our chances. We've talked about the Nanto chance. There was Dan James won the first half where he seemed to forget where the goal was and just kept heading left and kept going left, and everyone was screaming out, turn right down. And he just kept going, gets in Willie's way. Willie has a decent chance. Second half, one cleared off the line. There's the header. Aronson has a chance as well. There was enough clear chances to win that game. Farkas talked after the game, Paul, about the fact that we're missing chances and we keep missing chances. How long do you think Leeds persevere with what they've got up front before they start blaming it on individuals and look to bring somebody in January, or Pat Bamford starts to start? Because my question on the number 9 position is this. Everyone has their own opinion. Some people are saying Joseph should start. Some are saying Pirro should start. Then Pirro starts, scores a couple of goals. Then he doesn't. He's crap again. He shouldn't be in the team. Then Joseph goes a couple of games without a goal and he was overhyped, not good enough, shouldn't be in the team. And the narrative keeps changing. So the question I have is slightly different, Paul. From a number 9 perspective and the amount of chances being wasted, is it a case that Leeds just don't play the right football when Joe Pirro is in that team? Because Joe Pirro is a chance taker. Therefore, if you're going to start him, you've got to create chances in front of him for him to take. And against Bristol City, I don't remember anything going in front of him where he could actually run onto the ball. But if you're not doing that, and if you're not going to create those kind of chances, you're not going to get in behind, then the question surely should be, well, then that's when you play Mateo Joseph, because he'll come short for the ball, he'll link the play, he'll press, he'll do all the off-the-ball stuff. So it should be horses for courses. With the tricky one to nail down before games, but you would imagine at this stage, Farke has to really start looking at that position as a problem position for Leeds, not because of any individual, but because we're not necessarily getting the right person there at the right time or the right game, if that makes sense.
It does. It's down to, for me, it's more down to understanding systems than anything else. So you've got Joel up front. So for me, what's he do? What's he do in terms of games? Like, he's not going to come and run deep for it all the time. He's not going to come and rat about for the ball. He's not going to, battle with a defender for the ball. He sits on the last man. That's what he does. You've got to create and get it into him to be able to get him to finish. He is the most clinical finisher that we've got in the squad by far, in terms of his accuracy and in terms of finishing. With Joseph, the difference with Joseph is Joseph likes to really be physical, and he's a lot stronger than what people give him credit for. And he likes ball into feet. He likes to back into players. He likes to let the ball come to him and for people to then play off of him. And what the attacking lineup needs to kind of try and do is work out the system. So if it's Peru up there, they need to be doing more in terms of for feeding the ball to him and creating chances, like going down the wing, cross the ball in instead of playing it to the inside left or the inside right position, cross the ball into him and let's see what can happen. I feel personally, we don't cross the ball enough in those types of situations, particularly when Pirro's playing. Joseph is a lot different. Joseph is the type of person that when you get down the left or the right-hand side, you play it to the inside left, inside right. That short ball into him, his touch and turn, then brings him into play to be able to create a chance for himself to score rather than a chance be created for him. So the team behind them need to understand the system, and they need to do a little bit better in terms of working to the advantages of the person that they have in front of them.
Yeah, because different players have different styles. And I know when I played, I always wanted the ball in front of me. Always wanted it in front of me so I could run onto it. I didn't want it short of feet. I didn't want to come and get the ball. I wanted it in behind all the time because that's where I thought I was at my best and that's how I could help the team. But if it's not happening and if you're not getting those balls in, then you tend to start to look like a striker who's not interested and walking around a little bit, Gerry. And that's the criticism that Joel Pirro gets, is he doesn't look interested and he's walking around. But if the ball isn't coming to you, it's not getting into the areas that you'll do your work. Usually it's the hook comes out and they swap you with somebody else. But for Leeds, it's 77 minutes before that change ever happens, and it's probably too late at that stage anyway.
Yeah, he's got one of them faces, hasn't he? That looks a bit bored. But I was watching him close the other day, and I thought, I mean, it's not his job, but I thought defensively he was working hard. He got stuck in a couple of corners, and you're right. They're two different players, and he's come off the bench in the last few weeks, and I'm not sure, one of them he probably started. We had 3 goals and an assist. I mean, Joseph came off the bench, scored, and almost scored. And you're right, they're two different players. And I think the substitution timings, you could almost set your watch. We were joking. Absolutely. It says nearly 70 minutes now. Yes, here's somebody coming on. Maybe after 55 minutes if Pirro's on and it's not quite working, put Joseph or vice versa. But Joseph is, with the goal he scored last week, it was just pure brute force getting in there. It looked like he was fouled, but he was actually fouling the other player, but he got through there. Pirro, he gets the ball on the edge of the box and he has a shot. Although he did miss one last week like that, he spooned it back to the keeper. But he'll score and he'll go on a streak. But whether these two can take us to promotion, I don't know. I mean, poor old Pat. He came on the other day. I don't think. I think everybody was sort of there. He is. There's old Pat. He's not going to be the answer. Although somebody said Southampton were sniffing around him. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it's a rumor.
He'll go to the Premier League and score 10 goals. Will you watch? But he's a streaky player as well. But he looks well off at it. But you can't make an impact with 2 or 3 minutes to go. So I suppose Farke is going to have this rotation. When Pirro's in a bit of form, he's going to leave him in, and then Joseph will come in. And I think come January, if it's not really coming off, they've got to look at a striker. But where are you going to find a striker in January? I was when we played Sheffield United, we were saying, well, Kiefer Moore, that was someone we could have had last week. He was awful against us. But he scored 10 goals for Ipswich, whatever it was last year. And you need someone like that, maybe. Danny Ings is always a name like his man. We won't get Danny Ings, but we just need someone will come in and get 10 goals and just be a scorer. But what are we, the sort of team that sets strikers up? Crosses coming in and everything else. It doesn't quite work. Maybe back to the old days and play 2 up front. That's not going to happen either. But that's the way he is. He always used to pair as a striker: Keegan, Toshak, Clark Jones. All these guys. But he don't have 2 up front. I think he's tried it a couple of times toward the end of games where he's left both of them on and not quite leaving him in the number 10. I don't think Pirro. We know he's not a number 10. No, he's not 10. But he'll go on a streak. Before we know it, he'll be in double figures in goals, and that's the way he was last year. But probably needs a bit more, and the whole team needs to be. We need to be moving that ball a bit quicker. That was I think somebody mentioned Lockie said it, and he was right that the whole game tempo's too slow and it gives too much time. You got to move that, and when we move the ball quickly, crisp passing, we're unbeatable, and then you're going to get goals and spread around the team. I don't care if Melia gets a hat-trick, as long as the ball's going into the... I need Joe Rodon to score because he's cost me a fortune in bets. It's bound to come. He's never scored.
Gerry, at some point, it's your fault. At some point, it becomes your fault.
I'm not going to do him this week and see what happens. Yeah.
He'll score. He'll score.
So, yeah, I think...
I had him last week to score, and he did win a header from a corner, but it went straight to go. Yeah. I love how surprised Joe Rodon is when his headers don't go in. Like when he heads the ball into the ground flat and it just bobbles into the keeper's hand, he's like this standing in front of the goalkeeper. Like, Joe, that happens every week at this stage. It should just be
he looks eternally surprised and he looks like my dog sometimes. He looks at you a bit, this what's going on? Yeah, he's got that sort of look about him, angry as well. He's good, and he's settled from his early season little wobble he had the first couple of games. Him and Strike look solid as anything. I think that's what we got to look at the defense and say. But I think the upshot of this conversation is we don't know which is the best striker. The team as a whole got to be better and supplying them, and I think that's the whole point. And we're not far off that. We'll go out and smash Plymouth this weekend, and we'll be fine. We'll see both of them will score 2 goals each.
Yeah, I do think there's a moment with this team. There's little bits that worry me, Paul, about Leeds. There's there was the nearly giving up on the game after the international break because Farke was so throw away with it. Like, well, look, we've got so many players, international duty. We're like, well, you still have to win a game of football, Daniel. Go win the game of football. And now it's like, there's 3 games in 7 days. But you're not the only one that has to do that, Daniel. Go get a win because the other teams that are around you all did. So why are you not doing it? You have the most expensive squad. That line again has come out of, well, we were all saying the exact same things when Bielsa was in charge in the championship, and I keep going back to the same thing. That squad cost 17 million. This squad cost 75 million. There is a massive difference in expectation levels from these 2 squads. It is not the same, and they are not comparable. But the one thing, Paul, that's been standing out for the last 2 seasons is tempo and leads. Yeah. When there's tempo to the game, this is a phenomenal side. When we decide to keep ball and play slow, we're a very average-looking football team. And if you look at the amount of players that started in that game this weekend versus the similar fixture at the same time last year, there's like 7 different players in that team. And they played the exact same way with this lack of tempo. We're not going to fix it, Paul, but what would you like to see from this? Because to me, it's obvious. Daniel, move the ball faster.
Yeah, that's it. I've often said it myself. I'm in full agreement with you on that particular point. When we play it quick, when we move the ball around, literally we cannot be touched. We have the skillful players that we need to be able to move the ball fast. And this is going to sound probably slightly weird, but the whole Gruev Ampadu injury side of things has kind of forced the hand a little bit in terms of us playing it quicker and faster, because Rothwell likes to move with the ball, likes to move it forwards. Tanaka always looking for the forward pass, who is, and I keep saying this on every podcast that I'm on now, he is inhuman in terms of how much strength and ability that person has got. And for me, he is the absolute signing of the season already. That's my opinion. I'll stick to it. But the issue that we've got is that slowness of moving the ball sometimes, in terms of, and again, this is about, for me, knowing the system and working the system properly. And maybe there's that risk-averse play that Farke has, not taking the risk, not taking the, just go at it a little bit more. I'd just like him just to release the shackles on some of the players a little bit more. Like, I'm sure Firpo just does not listen to what Farke tells him to do, because the amount of times that he's up on the left-hand side playing left centre forward is just incredibly funny. But it's right. He's taking a risk, and inevitably that risk comes with the reward at the same time. And that's what we're not doing at the moment, is that we seem to have little, maybe 15, 20-minute patches where we play absolutely brilliantly and sublime.
And then
just tails off, and it's like we've let the other team back into the game again. We just need to be quick on a more regular basis, quicker with it. We're fit enough to do it. The guys are fit enough to do it. We've got you've got Solomon, Nonto, Ramazani, James. Look at the speed of those four players in particular.
Should be frightening.
Then look at Aronson. He's not slow either. One of the first to close somebody down. And then once you start doing those things on a more regular basis for a longer period of time in the game, then we stop having the conversation, in my opinion, about Joseph, about Peru, because that taking a chance, taking a risk, then breeds the chances for those players to then score their goals that they need to score. And then we're all sat here going, we're the best team in the world.
When you move the ball quickly, you upset an opposition's defensive system. If you can get behind them before they're set, chances are you create chances. And Leeds have done that when they moved the ball quickly. I have my own thoughts on I try and connect things that are set together. Sometimes I'm not right with it. Sometimes I am. But I didn't like the comment that Farke made after the last game we played before this, where he said he was concerned when we went 2-0 up because Leeds immediately trailed off after going 2-0 up. And for me, that felt like the manager told him, back a bit.
Yeah. It happens. It happens a lot.
Yeah, and it's a consistent thing, Gerry, isn't it? Yeah,
we don't smash teams. That 2-0 up, you should be taking 5-6. Just keep it going. But we definitely sat back last week, and they could have got back into that game. They got a goal back, and you're on tender hooks the rest of the game. I've seen that so many times with Leeds. If we don't go for the jugular, and I think we got a couple of games coming up where we really need to go out and do that. And if we start the same tempo as we did against Watford and maintain that, there's no one can live with us, and it'll fall into place. And when we got everybody fit, the squad, it's not just subs we got. I've said this before. It's a finishing team, and the rugby term they use. We've got finishers coming on. If you got Ramzani and James on, and then you've got Solomon coming on as a sub, and it's that's when you're looking at, and if Nonto's there, you just think my teams are looking like, Jesus, this is what they've got coming off the bench. We're in trouble. So that's what we're trying to do. Just get a foothold in the game and not sit back and just keep it moving. It's very simple to say, but I think we're all in agreement. I think everybody says tempo, and
just need the gaffer to see it as well and realize that this team. And I just want to clarify, because just in case Andy, just to clarify, not to call you out, Andy, but just to clarify, when I say tempo, I do this a bit last year. When I say tempo, it's the speed at which we move the ball, not necessarily us sprinting around the park. So the perfect example at the weekend was, as already been said, we're turning back into left-hand Leeds where everything's on the left-hand side. And there's so many times you look at it and you go, one pass into the middle and then open it up to the far side and he's in acres of space. We go into the middle and then we come straight back where we were, back on the left-hand side again, and it gets bottlenecked and there's no options. Bogus in acres of space, James in acres of space, and we're just not. And that was the same last year, wasn't it?
Bogle was screaming for it against Bristol on a regular occasion, and a couple of times Rothwell put the ball over to him, and it was frustrating to watch, which is why I stopped watching the game 10 minutes towards the end, because I just thought this is just infuriating. It's just, I don't ever want to see us just playing for a point. We've got to keep going at it and at it and at it. We just need that. We just want to see that tempo. We did it, for the one half against Huddersfield. Do you remember at home at Huddersfield last year? Yeah. And we absolutely smashed them for an entire half.
Norwich in the playoff semi-final.
Yeah, Norwich was
Ipswich at home as well.
Ipswich at home. Like, where is that every week? It's clearly in them.
Yeah. But risk averse.
But that's the problem, isn't it? I'd rather get the point than risk getting no points, and it might get you up, but it might stop you from getting up as well. That could be the moment where you go, we lost out on 2 points here and 2 points there, and go with those draws. I said it last year, if you turn your defeats into draws and your draws into wins, you'll probably get promoted. And to be fair to Leeds this season, they have reversed a lot of the dodgy fixtures they had this stage last season. Although not picking up 3 points means where we were versus last year is pretty much the same now, although we are closer to the top. But a 5-point gap is now 2 results where it was only 1, and you want Leeds to just get into those spots of the pressures on everybody else going, well, Leeds are moving now and we should keep an eye on them. So, but we've got a couple of games coming up that we're talking about. If you look at Sunderland, we'll focus on Sunderland just because they're the league leaders right now and are pulling in Ipswich to a degree of, we all thought they'd fall away, and so far they don't look like it's going to happen. But they're away to QPR next, then they're away to Preston, so they've got back-to-back away games, which could be tricky for them. Then they've got home to Coventry City, away to Millwall, home to West Brom, away to Sheffield United. So they've got some tougher games coming up that could start to change their momentum a little bit. And from a Leeds perspective, the next 6, home to Plymouth, away to Millwall, home to QPR, away to Swansea, home to Luton, away to Blackburn. And that, on paper, including Bristol City game, for me, was the run that Leeds could go on and win a load of games back-to-back. But for me, I want to see Leeds go into those games, and I would want to see a win in every game, with maybe the exception of Blackburn and Luton being a little bit tighter. I think Luton will turn things around, but a little bit tighter. But Gerry, where do you sit on those? The next 6 important, there's an international break in the middle of that, but just for what's coming up for these teams and where they are right now, how does that look to you?
Yeah, well, in theory, we should win those games. But you look at how the championship changes. When we played Cardiff a few weeks ago, they were dreadful. Now they're probably the form team in the division. You know, they're taking points out. They got a draw at West Brom the other day. QPR, bottom of the table, get a draw at Burnley. So you never know in this championship. Yeah. Coventry, again, Sunderland play them. They've been poor. And then they've all of a sudden come back and won 3-2 against Luton. So their confidence is up. You just don't know. But we should be coming out of this run. In theory, we could win them all. Maybe if there's one draw in there. I expect to win every one of these games. I'll be disappointed if we don't. And Sunderland, you look at their run. You know, Preston were 3 up against Plymouth and drew 3-3. Again, they've got QPR, who might be up on a buzzing after their point at Burnley. You never know, but Sunderland, they're winnable games for them as well. The Sheffield United one, is it West Brom? You said at the end as well. West Brom have gone right off the boil. They can't score to save their lives, but they'll be tough game. They'll drop points somewhere along the line. 5 points. We turned around. Was it 17 points last year? Yeah, and then we fell away. So it just shows you. I always say in this division, just go and run. So I wouldn't even rule Luton out of getting in the playoffs, because they're a good enough team. I mean, Reading did it one year from 17th. So you really can't take anything for granted, but we should. And going out against Plymouth, I think somebody's pointed out that JB won't be playing for them because he's on loan from us. And Plymouth are a bit hit and miss. Nice to see Wayne again. We got him the sack last year. Be nice to try and do it again. Yeah, lovely lad. What a good looking lad he is. Yeah, he's He's
He is the definition. If you define Sunday League manager.
Yeah,
there you go.
He is. Yeah, his head just gets bigger every week. We should. Yeah, Adam Forshaw. He might be back playing as well. But Plymouth, they came last year. We were. It was the classical Leeds game. I think we went 2-0 up and in control, and we let one slip, and then we were hanging on. I think we only beat them 2-1. QPR the same. We only beat them 1-0 in the end. So yeah, it's all about points and saying we should get those. Millwall, it's a horrible Wednesday night, East London. Apparently there's a tube strike as well, so it's going to be horrendous with traffic getting there and everything else. Yeah, I might not go to that one, but tough, horrible place, horrible fans, the worst place. I never wear colours of any. I go dressed in pink, so I can't be seen or targeted down there. But it's a horrible place. So we made a statement down there last year, so let's do it again. But yeah, by the end of those 6 games, we could be. If we're still 2-3 points behind Sunderland, I'll be happy and tucked in behind in second. We just need only one team needs to be ahead of us, and we just need to concentrate. But at the moment, still 12 games. So quarter, just under a quarter of the season. A lot's going to happen. A lot of games. So don't panic, lads. It wasn't a great result, but we've got winnable games coming up where we can forget all about Saturday, and we didn't lose. Forget that we didn't lose.
Well, let's be honest. Every win doesn't mean we're going up as champions, and every defeat or every draw doesn't mean we're getting relegated or we're not going to get promoted. There's balance in there as well. They're all going to happen throughout the season. We just need to keep plodding along. And as Herbert has age stamped his comment here by saying, "Nice to see Giant Haystacks managing Plymouth." For those of our wrestling fandom, you'll know exactly who Giant Haystacks is.
Yes.
And as Sean has also said, is it Wayne Rooney or Giant Haystacks? We don't know. Nobody knows. Maybe we'll never find out. We have to wait and see. Paul, the next 6 for Leeds, you want to see wins here, don't you?
Yeah, we should be winning all of them. It's that simple, and that's not being disrespectful to the other teams that we're playing by any stretch of the imagination. For me, if we want to get promoted, we should be winning every single game. We should be going into every game winning. The one thing that I do think is slightly different this time around is that I do think that the mentality of these players is a little bit better than what it was last season, potentially, which will probably come more to the forefront as the season drags on. We just don't know what team is going to turn up. That's for me. Is it going to be the balls to the wall, let's get 5 goals, or is it going to be this really kind of risk-averse kind of thing? I get what Daniel Farke's trying to do, but just let the shackles off. It's Plymouth at home. Just let the shackles off and just let them go out and eat. Do you know what I mean? Just let them go out and do what they need to do.
Do you think, Paul, it's similar to Southgate? Because I said this, obviously, as an Irish person, I've no skin in the game, so I can watch England games and kind of go, and I looked at the England team in the summer and I thought, you've got so much talent. I wouldn't be worrying about defending because Pep doesn't worry about defending because of the attacking talent that he has. He plays centre midfielders and centre back at times because why not? We're not going to be defending that much. Farke has probably got one of the most attacking teams, best attacking teams in the division. Is front 4 and the replacements he's got for them would all walk into any team in this division and probably some of the lower half Premier League teams as well. But then you see that kind of, once you start to see a slow tempo with Leeds going backwards an awful lot, you start to think, here we go. It's going to be hard to get us going again. Or when they drop into that, it's like, okay, we have 5 minutes without the ball. Now we've got it again and it's slow, tippy-tappy. I don't think he has the players for that system. And I think he has the players for a fast system, but doesn't want to play it because it leaves gaps and he's worried about those gaps.
The question to ask is, and I know I hate doing the comparison thing for me, is why did Bielsa, or how did Bielsa get that team promoted? What is it that Bielsa did that got that team promoted? He played massively to their strengths. And yes, sometimes the defending was shocking, but it was always a case of we'll just score more than you by playing incredible football constantly and being the fittest team there. I think Farke sometimes thinks that he wants to play a bit like the almost the Man City way, like you mentioned, the tiki-taka stuff, where you can play the ball round the back a little bit, then maybe into midfield. If that's not working, come back a little bit, then stretch, and then it'll stretch and move teams around. But you have to do it quickly. We're doing it too slowly at the moment, and that's the big problem. I just want to see us play. I just want to see us play at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I just want us to see us play with no fear that this is a team coming to Leeds United who are fighting for their life. We want to win. We want to, they have to come and take this from us, and they're not going to. We have to have that mentality. And that's why I do think the mentality is different this time. Yeah, belief in fitness, Andy, you're absolutely right. It's that belief and fitness side of things. I think they're fit enough. I do think the belief's there. I just think that they're being held back a little bit. That's just what I think. It's that let's try and not be too expansive because it might not work quite right.
Gerry, where do you sit on it?
Yeah, it was funny. That's what you say about Don Revie, wasn't it? We should have let him off the leash a bit more. A lot of teams say that. Yeah, he's got to let us off the leash a bit more. I think at the right time. But we started the game like house on fire against Watford. We're 2-0 up in 6-7 minutes, and that's when you should hit home. So we do the same again on Saturday. We start and don't take your foot off the pedal. Just keep going. And if it's waning a bit, make a change. 55 minutes, 60 minutes. But he's never done it, so we can almost write the script. But yeah. We've been unlucky with injuries as well. I think, as I said, losing Ramzani and Ampadu and Gruev, we've lost that. We've lost those experienced players out of the team, and we've had Dan James and Solomon out. So we've had that as well. And maybe players aren't fully fit, but they should be now. They should be now. Still a bit Man United manager getting set. Well done, Somerville, for doing that.
It's brilliant. That good finish. That.
And It's a small thing. We're not losing. We've lost one game. We're tucked in nicely, and it just needs a tweak. This needs a little tweak, and just be better, lads. Just your passing a bit crisper, a bit faster, get that ball in, and don't get stuck in the corner. Yeah, that'll be. But I don't expect major change. I expect Sam Byron probably to switch to right back. Yep. And he'd probably Peru will stay up front. That'd be the only change if he changes either one of them, Peru or Joseph. But that'll be the way. I feel sorry for Schmidt. He hasn't had a look in yet, but he'll get his chance. It'll come along. Remember, Gruev didn't get it.
Expecting from him though, because everyone's screaming as why he's not. The team's like he's a fullback. I'm not sure you're going to get exactly what you think you're going to get from him. And Sam Byron got a lot of stick online during the game. And
I thought he was brilliant.
Man of the match, and it was in the championship team of the week.
But he was really good.
It was. I don't know. I can't imagine anybody giving him stick because he made 3 good tackles in the first half, and he was linking up play all the time. I think he even had a chance. I thought he was excellent, and he's never let us down. So I see him. He can't play twice in a week, but he should be okay for that one. And Schmidt, the longer you're on the bench, the better you get. That's always the old adage, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
People are they're saying about Joffrey. Why does Joffrey get a go? Well, I suppose it's a fair point. I'd rather see Joffrey come on in front of Bamford. Give him a chance. We know he's got something, and he's got to do it someday. I feel for Joffrey. I'd love to see him make it and go out, but is it ever going to happen? But good player there, and maybe he should be getting in front of Patrick. But it'll be fine. I'm okay about it.
I still think, just looking into the future slightly as well, for when Ampadu does hopefully come back, I think that he will play Ampadu and Tanaka. I think that will be. That'll be his preferred centre midfield pairing, and I think that we might see quite a significant change in the way that Leeds play once Ampadu comes back. One thing, barring the 70-minute substitutions, which is an absolute nonsense and a waste of time, he has shown this season, Farker, that he is willing to change things up just a little bit. We just need him to change stuff up just a little bit more. So we'll hopefully that might continue. But I do think from a future perspective, it will be Ampadu and Tanaka. And I think that's when you might see us really, really start to pedal away with it.
I hope so. And I hope it's that defensive-minded player. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Gilavogi in the side as soon as he's got his...
I forgot about him. Yeah.
I just think Farke isn't happy with 2 attack-minded midfielders. I think he wants that one, at least one. I know he preferred 2, but you don't need 2, Daniel. You just need 1.
He's a big lad. He's a big lad. As somebody called him, Josh Give and Take, because I couldn't. That was me actually calling him. I couldn't pronounce the name, but he looks. Be interesting to see what he's going to do. I'm just going to call him Josh. Yeah, but he looks big as centre half. Maybe. Yeah, we never know.
He's played centre half as well, but.
Yeah, he has,
6'2".
Score decent on set pieces, which we need. And someone was already asking, like, so Bogle misses out on the game on Saturday because he's suspended. I heard Willie Nonto was suspended as well. The commentator on Sky said, but then Salman Rondon was playing centre back for Leeds, so you can't believe anything he said.
No, I don't think Willie. No, it was Bogle's out.
Yeah, Bogle's out. So now, depending on what Farke does, because my interpretation of Schmidt coming in was Schmidt was the replacement for Jayden Bogle, and Byron was the replacement for Junior Firpo, despite the fact that Isaac Schmidt is left-footed and Sam Boyerman is right-footed. That's where they predominantly played. So if Schmidt doesn't start, then there's a trust issue there for me. Because there's no way he's not fit, because he played in the European Conference League the day before he signed for Leeds and scored in that game. Played 78 minutes. So he was, this fitness level shouldn't be an issue. Match fitness-wise shouldn't be a problem. So if he doesn't play him, Joe Rodon is 1 yellow card away from a suspension. So if Joe picks up that, you'll likely see then Gilavogi come in at centre back, probably play his first game rather than DeBio because of experience. That's probably likely, but we'll have to wait.
DeBio's not a bad option though. He isn't, because
he was fine during preseason.
He looked good in preseason. So
That's just the bench, Paul. At some point, he's got to trust that bench. He started again this year. There's some of those players on that bench. Just you're never playing. Joe Gallagher, you're not playing, Paul. DeBio, you'll be lucky. Charlie Crew, you'll be lucky. That's 3 players though on the bench that when you look around to make a change, you're like, well, they're not playing. Yeah, you don't have 9 players. You only got 7.
I do think that the Gray injury probably caused a lot of issues for him as well, because I think he saw Gray as an attacking option, number 10/9 option, potentially. I know he's young. I know he's very, very young, but I think that he really, really likes Gray. So, yeah.
We'll see after Christmas.
I've seen him in the stand a few times. He only looks about 10.
He does. He's a big fella now, like, with the face.
I know. Just looks like a naughty kid, but fair play to Andy Gray, what he's produced.
Tell you
what a farmer. Wish my kids would bring me money like that. Yeah,
I think there's a cousin in the academy as well, younger again. I don't think he's a first or second cousin, but I think there's a cousin in the club as well. I don't think he's a grade up, but there's a relation.
Hell of a dynasty in there.
Yeah, really. Hang on. Now we just got to match the aspirations of these young players and make sure we're there when they want to go to Premier League. We're already there, so I'm sure we'll be fine. Folks, we'll wrap it up there. We've gone 51 minutes. I really appreciate everyone for sticking with us. And a good number. If you want to hit the like button on your way out, that would be great. I really appreciate that. Massive thanks to Paul from Leeds Therapy and Gerry McNamee for joining me tonight to have a chat.
Pleasure.
Paul, anything happening over on your channel this week that you'd like to plug?
Yeah, I've got. I'll have a review coming up before the Plymouth game. Obviously, just a quick look at Plymouth's strengths and weaknesses and how they've been playing so far, and just where I kind of see sort of the key matchups going. That'll be the main thing that comes on. I'm thinking about maybe doing a live stream. I keep threatening to do it, so I might try one out and just give it a bit of a test and just see how that one runs.
Braver man than me, Paul.
I'm off on pilgrimage tomorrow night to Parkhead. I'll be up watching the hoops, watching Celtic. Nice. So the atmosphere will be big game against Dundee, but the atmosphere will be great. Just go once a year, a couple of times a year. Can't wait. Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, you're gonna have a great crack. My best man is a massive Celtic fan, but actually interesting. We're watching the game at the weekend. My brother's a Villa fan, and my best mate is a Celtic fanatic. And we're watching the game, and like halftime, my brother's like, "You can make 2 changes at halftime." Like, he won't. He's like, "But he could." I was like, "But he won't." And then a couple minutes later, in the second half, my mate's like, "Jesus, just like Aronson needs to come off, put Nanto into 10 and change." It's like, yep, he won't do that. But 70 minutes before he even looks at that bench, and it's like exactly what happened. But they couldn't get their head around it. Yeah,
we've all got it. It's the same for everybody. We've all got it. Yeah. So,
right, Gerry, anything you want to leave us with before we wrap up? Any final thoughts?
No, I just want to make sure Dundalk are still in business next year. That's our big worry. Last game of the season, and hopefully stay up. And we'll be there on Saturday against Plymouth. And I'm glad it's a home game, not an away game against that lot. Remember, the next time we play Plymouth will be last game of the season when we'll be down there celebrating
on the beach.
Promotion.
Yeah, on the beach. Like,
back in the day. We'll have it won by March. Don't worry.
Hopefully. Yeah. I love that confidence. Let's hope so. We should be good enough. We should.
We'll be grand.
It'll be our fault.
We've still not played anybody this season where I've thought, and again, this is no disrespect to anybody that we've played. We've still not played anybody yet this season where I've thought, Jesus, they're going to be rocking this season. So there's no the league is weaker this season than what it was last season as well.
Yeah, it needs to be us as that team that everyone else is afraid of. But we'll see how we go. We'll have a preview to the game out before the game on Saturday. A lot of the content from tomorrow on, folks, will be pre-recorded because I'm getting married on Friday. So there's a lot of stuff happening that I'll still get everything out as normal, but it'll be all delayed. There won't be a review of the game on Saturday because I am going to try and find a place to watch that game just after my ceremony's finished. But that's my plan, watching the game. And then we'll figure out the rest of the day. So, well, yeah, she knows the job. She knows the job. So yeah, so that was what will happen. So you might see things a little bit differently this week, but then I'm not going on honeymoon until December, so everything else will crack back into normal on Monday. So back to the usual. But yeah, keep an eye out. Anyway, folks, massive thanks, big thanks to Paul and to Jerry again, and I'll talk to you in the morning for more Leeds news. See ya. Bye.
Cheers.